not come across anything since that scares me anywhere near as much as what happened in Tunisia.
It's definitely completely changed my character. I feel very nervous about everything now because you never know what's going to happen.
You never think it's going to happen to you. It's these moments in life that completely turn everything upside down. We thought we were going to die.
So these are some little stones, some little pebbles, just some memories really that I keep in a trinket box. Really goes back to my childhood with my mum taking me and my sisters and my brother down to our local beach, where I would be looking for what I would call magic stones. You can see like little crystals inside. It just reminds me of my daughter, Crystal. And, you know, even today, we're really close.
This keyring was given to us when we first went to Tunisia. So whenever we travelled, we always put our hotel key on this keyring. And I didn't realise what significant religious and spiritual beliefs that this has. It's an Islamic Hamza, which is the hand of Fatima. She was a protector of people. And we feel safe and protected. And spiritually, we are both attached to this.
This is the Queen's Commendation for Bravery. Yeah, that was from Her Majesty. Along with that came this, a certificate presented to me for what happened on that day. I don't see myself as a hero. I think the heroes are the victims and survivors of this incident or any such incidents that carry on with their lives. I just went back and tried to help.
I just love to go on holiday, go to the beach, sounds of the waves. I'd been to Tunisia the year before with Dave, my husband. We had such a lovely time. You know, we got a good tan, we had fun. So yeah, when the next year came, and Crystal had said she didn't want a birthday party for her 18th birthday, she said she would rather have a holiday.
And I'd seen the photos and was quite jealous. I had just completed my A-levels, I was 17, was really excited to be finishing school. I hadn't been on a holiday that's that, you know, 5-star luxury experience of eat as much as you like, drink as much as you like. I know I was 17, but the idea was that in Tunisia we could be adults and have a really good time.
And this time she said, could we take her friend, Chelsea? That's how we came to go to Tunisia.
I was on one particular path in life, working in a warehouse as a forklift operator. And I was going on holiday with my then fiance. We'd been together just under 2 years at that point. It was a chance to get away from day-to-day life goings and just be on holiday and relax. Tunisia was down to the weather. My grandparents had been in the past and said it was a lovely country. I guess that hotel just came down to one of the ones that made the list, all-inclusive, close to the beach, not too far from the airport, the kind of things you look for when you go away.
It was coming up to my 25th birthday, so we wanted to do something nice. We'd been together for around 4 years, I believe.
Me and Cherry getting ourselves on our feet. Just moved into our first rented property, and just working at the time, and just trying to save some money for our kitty, and to hopefully book somewhere nice to go on holiday.
We came up with Tunisia because it was a cheap option at the time. It was a really lovely place to go on holiday, so we decided to go there.
All the reviews seemed pretty good. The hotel looked really nice. So yeah, I didn't really need much more persuading than that, really.
It was an impromptu holiday. We weren't supposed to be going. I think it was between Tunisia and Egypt. One of our friends had recommended going, but it wasn't really up to me anyway. I was only 15, so it was like my mum and stepdad's decision ultimately. But since our friend had recommended it, we thought, okay. And she had told us everything is so safe, there's like security guards, because I was always a panicker anyway, so that was in the back of my mind since the attack at the Bardo Museum had happened. I've always been a worrier, so I even went to the travel agency and asked them. I was like, how safe is it? This has just happened not too long ago. Are you sure the right precautions are in place? I was assured if an attack happened in London, would you go to Skegness? And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because I was determined to not be anxious. It was going to be the holiday where I get my life back, where I try and stop being as anxious.
Got to Tunisia, everything was fine. Arrived, weather was lovely, straight to the hotel. It was a nice arrival, nice and simple check-in, and straight to the bar.
The hotel was really grand, so when we pulled up, we were like, yes, this is nice. We're gonna, enjoy this.
It was the biggest hotel I've ever seen in my life. It was extraordinary, it was massive. Everything was marble and beautiful. Just amazing, really.
My wife, Tracy, and I, who had been there the 2 previous years. The rooms were clean and tidy, the food was good, the service was good. It was a lovely place. It was a happy place. We felt safe and comfortable there.
It was just such a lovely hotel. We were so impressed. It was just such a lovely place. the room was overlooking the beach. So yeah, it looked fantastic. And then walking down there, you kind of walked through the pool area, and then it was a lovely walk up to the beach then. So yeah, I remember walking there for the first time. And there was lovely palm trees and just a really lovely setup. It was really nice.
It was just the nicest hotel, the beach with all the activities on the beach, and the pool was superb and the food was great, and it was just a really good hotel. We were coming towards the end of the holiday and nothing seemed different to any other holiday we'd had at that hotel.
We had previously visited Tunisia on a couple of occasions and had no problems at all, found the people fantastic. But once you get outside the complex of the hotel, you can see the diversity in the country. There is us for us travellers, where we can have everything. And then no more than a mile from the hotel, you can see there's a lot of people that don't have a lot at all. There's an area on the map now that was a red area, and it wasn't safe for tourists to travel. So that was a little bit of a sign to me that I didn't really realise that the country had some problems.
We had already planned that Friday, me and Dave would go to the beach. And the girls didn't want to go to the beach. They didn't want to get sand on when they're sunbathing, on their suntan cream.
I hate the beach. Sorry, but I do. I don't like the sand, I don't like the sea. I've never enjoyed beaches. So we played darts one day, volleyball. I'm not a sporty person, but I really wanted to play volleyball because it's what you do. You get involved in all of the activities on holiday.
I just wanted to sunbathe and read my book. So we walked, found a couple of sunbeds, and I said to Dave, what about those ones over there? He said, no, there's some over here, and you can watch us play volleyball, which was good because no one was really in my line of sight. So yeah, that was quite fun watching them while I was just relaxing.
We had a really fun time playing volleyball. It was really hot. I was a bit hot and bothered, but it was still, really, really fun. Throwing the ball around, playing with Chelsea and my stepdad. And the game had finished, but we thought, let's go back to the bar, grab mum a wine. I'll get a drink, we can cool down and then just chill for the rest of the day.
Most people just in front of me on the beach were just sleeping, just relaxing. There wasn't really any noise. It was just really quiet.
I was on the far right. So if you come out of the hotel, you hit the sunbeds on the far right. And I just walked forward to the front because that's what I used to, that's my usual spot, if you like, our usual spot. We used to choose that spot because you had a clear view of the sea and the beach. And I love to people watch, watching the world go by.
It was on the 7th day of our 10-day holiday. We were, as you come out of the hotel, we were the right side of the sunbeds. My wife will have hers in the full sun all of the time. I'm not a particular sun lover. I'm either reading a book or listening to music, which I was then. I had my headphones on. It was a great place to chill out.
It was a very, very normal morning. Met some other Welsh people out there, and we'd all gone down to the beach together that morning. And the weather, obviously, was fantastic. And then just sort of chilled out on the beach, enjoyed the sun, and then decided that we were going to go into the water on inflatable lilos. I would say I'm a bit of a water baby. I do, whether it's warm water or cold water, I definitely enjoy being in water. We started off very close to the shore and then sort of went a bit further out, and without really realising it, and I looked back, we'd actually floated out of our area and into the next hotel's area.
So we'd been there for 5 days, so it was actually my 25th birthday. So we were just chilling at the beach. There was the walkway coming down from the harbour, and we were just on the sunbeds, just over to the sides there.
It was Sherry's birthday, so she wanted to do the jet skiing. I was happy to do that as well. She also wanted to do the paragliding. I was a bit apprehensive about that.
Ben doesn't like heights, so I did that myself. I can just remember going up, being in the sky, and you could just see over the whole of Tunisia. It was beautiful. It was just nice just to feel relaxed, calm, away from everything, and just safe.
Dave brought the drink back. I went to drink from my wine, and just out of the corner of my eye, I just saw this flash of light. It's like I don't know, like super bright, like lightning type thing, but I don't know, I just kind of turned to it. And yeah, it was the terrorist.
It took a second to register. I'm thinking that's a high-velocity rifle. And then suddenly I ducked down to look through the umbrellas, and then it went to rapid fire. The terrorist had turned it to automatic fire.
I thought it was fireworks. I thought that's what it was. And then it didn't sound like fireworks.
And you could hear people screaming. And looking back to the sand, you could see the sand flying up into the air where the bullets were hitting the sand.
And I could see something was going on to my left. Couldn't quite work it out. And I saw my wife get off the sunbed as she was on the left, look at me and visually say to me, "Effing run, effing run." So I took my headphones off and I caught a glimpse of my wife running up the beach.
It's like I just went down on the sand, so between the sunbeds, so I was laying there and Dave was there. We just kind of both went down at the same time. And the terrorist just started firing at people, like, and he was standing there right in front of all the sunbeds, and then the noise was just, it was something else, just boom, 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 like that, and I could feel it. I could feel like the sand like jumping up.
I just bent down, grabbed Tracy, hoisted her off the sunbed, and she said, "It's fireworks, it's fireworks." It's not. And literally, as she said that, I could then hear the missile, the bullets whizzing past my ears. Literally, they were that close that they were skimming past us.
I felt the power of the bullet. You know, I had the sensation of it actually passing under my arm.
As I was running with Tracy, I looked back. I couldn't see the gunman, but I could just see people going down. And I could hear the noise. It's a very distinctive noise of people being shot.
You could just hear like screaming, and it was just a mess, to be honest. It's just chaos. It's just like I just thought I was going to die any second.
You go into fight or flight mode. You don't want to be where you are. You know you're in a bad spot, and panic sets in. And the only thing I could think to do from there was just to get back to shore as quickly as possible.
I had to run. And I saw an upturned boat, and I thought, if I can crawl or run to that and hide behind that, you're going to be safe. And in those split seconds behind the boat, I contemplated, like everybody does, you know, help me, somebody help me. What do I do? Do I stay where I am? Is there a risk to me? I didn't know. So I ran hell for leather down the beach and jumped into the sea.
We were sitting on the beach, and I started seeing on my left rows of sunbeds and people just rolling, and like a wave, a tsunami coming towards me.
Everybody was screaming, running, just sheer panic. Nobody really knew exactly what was going on, but everybody just knew we needed to go.
My brain was so overloaded, but I do remember when I was running from the beach down that narrow lane, that's when I heard one or two big bangs, and it's a bit of like, yeah, let's pick up the pace now.
The person I was with had already started to run. And then I'm torn in my own head because I can see a woman in front of me lying on the sand. And I remember trying to drag her, trying to move her. There's still people screaming, there's still gunshots going off. And all I can remember is trying to move her. And after a few seconds, I realised that actually she wasn't alive. And I remember looking down at my hands and they were covered in blood. I just had to get out of there then, and that's when I just ran.
Dave grabbed my wrist really hard and said, "We need to run, babe." So I got up and started following him. I had no idea where we were going. I fell over. Dave realised that I wasn't with him and he ran back and he kind of grabbed my arms and verbally picked me up and said, "You know, we need to, come on, we need to go." And I said, "I can't, I just can't, I couldn't hardly talk, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't, I didn't know what to do. I thought Crystal was by the pool, and so I was really upset because I couldn't tell her that I was safe and not to come looking for me.
Your first thought isn't, oh, terrorist attack, gunfire. And then it escalated really quickly. It went from more of a pop, pop, pop to extreme gunfire.
And someone shouted, "Get down." That's gunshots, so everyone hit the floor. And then they shouted, "Run."
And then came the screams and the people running, and that's when we thought, oh my God, something's happening. And somebody shouted, "He's got a gun."
And I just remember one of the guys that worked there, his face, he was looking back and it was all in slow motion. And I just darted. I just left.
We started to run towards the hotel, and then I suddenly thought my mum and Dave are on the beach. And I wanted to go back.
It was chaos, everybody was running towards the hotel. So I run, but I didn't realise the rest of the family wasn't with me at that point. Got up to the main doors of the hotel and turned round and saw they were still by the sunbeds.
I just remember thinking, oh my God, okay, I need to get out of here. I kind of circled back round to where the main steps were, and I was at the top, and I had realised I'm alone. It was hysterical for like 5 seconds, and then I just kept thinking, I need to survive.
I think this is one of the hardest things for me to talk about. Knowing that my mum was on the beach and I didn't know whether she was dead or alive was really hard. And I was desperately trying to go back and get her. But Chelsea wouldn't let me. She grabbed me and said, "We need to run." So I did as she said. And she dragged me into the hotel. Literally dragged me by force into the reception of the hotel. There was loads of us. We didn't really know where to go, where we're safe. When we got into the reception, some staff had opened up a door. They were ushering us in, telling us, you know, it's safe in here, let's go. So they took us in, and we just followed everybody.
I was more concerned about where the rest of the family was, because obviously I'd got to the hotel, but I didn't know if they had. They could have been anywhere. You just get through it the best way you can, and that's to almost not believe it's happening to you.
There were several flights of stairs. People were just running. We had no idea where we were going or where they were leading us, but we were trusting that they were taking us somewhere safe. We all came to a natural stop in a corridor where there were several offices off the sides.
I was in a corridor with about, I'm going to say 15 more people, but where we were, the offices were made of glass. So we were thinking, okay, if he comes up here, we have nowhere to hide.
I needed to take a minute because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't do anything other than worry about where my mum was. And I was just, all I remember saying is, my mum's dead, where is my mum?
Our hotel room was probably 45 seconds walk from the beach. I probably made it in 25. And I just opened the door, grabbed Tracy, threw her in the room, and stood there for a second thinking, well, what do I do? What do I do? So I just said, please lay on the floor, don't make a noise, don't open the door till you hear my voice, I'm going back. And I just literally slammed the door behind me and run back to the beach.
I remember sort of running up the beach onto a walkway that led from the beach to the hotel gates. The sort of overriding thought was, is he behind me? Is he in front of me? Is there more of them going to come round the corner? Because you don't stop to grab your shoes, you don't stop to grab anything. It was just, run as fast as possible. And the ground was really hot. You realise actually I burned my feet here. But I had to carry on. I guess at that moment I was expecting to be shot myself. All you thinking is the worst and trying to get back to some place of safety.
I was out at sea. I wasn't really getting very far. And then I started to feel I was getting into some deeper water. My heart was pounding, I could feel my adrenaline rushing, and I was struggling in the sea. I'll admit it, I thought I was going to drown. Okay, I did. I think I had swum out a bit too far. I was in depth. I think I panicked. And I prayed, and I outstretched my right leg, and there was a rock, and I managed to pull myself onto the rock, which lifted me out of the water. And I did see a couple of boats that were just going up and down. One of them was Mohammed, the guy that was the water sports guy at the next hotel. So I started signalling to him, and luckily he did manage to spot me, and he came alongside and pulled me onto the boat. I looked back at the beach and I could see that, there was more than one or two people that unfortunately were not going to go home on that day. And Mohammed took me up the beach to the hotel next door. And I got out of the boat and and I started worrying about where my wife was.
And then we heard gunshots again. And it was pretty clear that we were not safe where we were. We were in an office with a glass front, and it was clear that that wouldn't stop anything from getting to us. So Chelsea grabbed me again and we looked to find somewhere else to hide.
Having never heard a gun fire before, the noise was louder than I'd ever thought possible.
And eventually it got to the point where we stopped hearing gunfire and we heard screaming heading our way.
We went back into the original corridor and pushed past people. We needed to find somewhere. We were desperate to get out of the way of the man that was coming down the corridor with a gun.
So we went down the corridor and ended up barricading ourselves into an office.
It was quite an open plan room and there was windows both sides of it, so it was quite bright in there. And it was a hot day. There was no aircon in the room as far as I can remember. I was crouched behind a desk. There was 2 young girls in front of me and then this mother and daughter sort of just behind me.
There were already maybe 10 people inside the office, already hiding underneath a desk, but we made space. We forced ourselves under this desk. I was holding on to the bottom of a wheelie office chair, somehow thinking that that would protect me if he was to come in.
You knew there was danger really close to you at that point, but again, you didn't know what was going on or how the danger was going to unfold.
But more and more people came in, and somebody decided that enough's enough, we're going to shut the door. And then everybody hid, and we were silent. We didn't want to make a sound, we didn't want to be found, we didn't want him to know that we were in there. I had all of these really extreme thoughts going through my head about what was going to happen to me if he found us.
And I just remember thinking, if he comes in here, he's going to shoot me and it's going to be fast. I'm going to die.
Somebody's phone started ringing obnoxiously loudly in that room, and everybody was desperate for it to stop.
And it just felt like we were sitting ducks at that point because he was there, we had nowhere to go. I remember asking someone if we were going to die, and I was expecting a no, and he was like, I don't know, I couldn't tell you. That's when the grenade went off. And I just remember my ears went, the whole room just smelled like gunpowder.
I went deaf. I could feel my mouth moving, but I didn't know what I was saying. I could smell gas and I could smell metal. And my sound was coming back and I could hear people screaming and shouting for help.
Dave and I got to another hotel. I remember being scared still because you could still hear shooting. But then the manager came and said, everyone needs to go to a room. And everyone just went, you know, and it's just me and Dave, kind of one of the last people left. Then I said, we haven't got a room. This isn't our hotel. And he just kind of dismissed me and said, you know, just go to anyone's room. So we just followed a young couple that were running up towards some stairs and just said, can we come with you guys? And they just said, yeah. And then the young couple were phoning their family. And when they finished talking to their family, I said, I need to phone Crystal and I need to tell her not to go to the beach. And I realised when she gave me the phone that I didn't know her number. And I didn't know how to tell her not to go to the beach. And, you know, I kind of was punishing myself. I thinking, what kind of mother doesn't even know their daughter's telephone number when they need to know it?
We got back to our hotel in the Royal Kents. Everybody was just very panicked. Nobody knew what was going on.
Everyone in tears, children to full-grown adults. Just, were we safe in the lobby? We didn't know, you know.
So we were advised to go to our rooms, and we then started to move the wardrobes and things just in front of windows, just so that we were completely barricaded in our room.
At that point, I was just sitting there in the hotel bed, just in fear, waiting for that door to be kicked open and to be shot. That was very much at the forefront of my mind. That was my biggest fear at that point.
I left Tracy in our room to make sure that she was safe. When I got to the beach, the gunfire was still evident. I ran along to where my sunbed was, and I could just see bodies and blood. And that's when I found a woman badly injured on a sunbed. And as I noticed that her hand, her forearm, was probably 2 meters away from her body. It being blown off completely. So I just rocked her, touched her gently. I said, my name's Alan, do you speak English? And she said, yes, I'm Cheryl. I said, look, I'm here, I'm going to try and help you. She'd obviously lost a significant amount of blood, but she was coherent. We were engaging, we were speaking. She was cooperating with me. So I gave her some water and she cleaned her face up and I poured some water over her mouth. I noticed there were some towels and there were some scarves. So I literally did what I could with Cheryl. I just wrapped her arm with the scarf, and then I noticed her leg was bleeding quite badly. So I pulled the towel down and I wrapped the towel around her leg. But all the time I was doing this, she was saying, how's my husband? My husband, Stephen. Check him, please. And I could see he was the other side of the sunbed. And unfortunately, I could see that his injuries were unsurvivable. He'd been shot several times. So I said to Cheryl, look, do you want me to tell you? She said, please. I said, are you sure? She said, please tell me. I said, unfortunately, he's gone. I said, look, I need to get you away from here in case he comes back. She said, no, I'm not leaving Stephen. So I literally tipped over some sunbeds So she was hidden had the terrorist returned that route. And my thoughts then went to Tracy. I need to go back to Tracy. So I run back to our room. I'm knocking on the door, banging the door. It's Tracy, open the door, it's me, I'm here. I'm thinking, why did she not open the door? And I'm banging and banging. Then I looked down and there was a post-it note on the floor that said, I'm scared, I've gone to reception.
I don't know how long we were in the room for. It had been what felt like a really long time, and we could still hear gunshots off in the distance. But throughout that whole experience, there was one person who, other than Chelsea, supported me, and that was Carl. He held my hands and repeatedly said to me, it's going to be okay. We're going to find your mum.
It was just a natural response to reach out, and you could see how scared she was, so you reached out and held her hand as a comfort to her, but it was almost a comfort to you at the same time.
He said, I've lost my family too, but we're going to be okay. And that gave me hope that we were going to get out. We were going to be okay. Sorry.
يلا
بالفعل حمد ايش عطيه سلاح بدي شفتك فيش عطيه سلاح شكون عطاه سلاح لا ديالك عاد هاتي شيء قم بصوتي علاش هكا علاش تقتل في الناس علاش تقتل في الناس علاش تقتل في الناس علاش يا ولك يلا عاود وينو علاش تقتل في الناس علاش يا علاش خويا علاش الناس كانت قاعدة سياح
Going into the gated area of the next door hotel, I saw people hiding in different places, and there was confusion and panic going on. And as I went out of the lobby, a guy ran straight across me. I thought, God, what's going on? I mean, that really did scare me. I didn't know if he was another gunman, an accomplice or whatever. And I did catch that he was wearing a hotel uniform in the end. And he ran to my right and jumped over a wall. And it reminded me there's a footpath that way that I can get to the main road. And I thought, that's where I'm going to go and see if I can get some help or do something. And that's when I got to the wall, and just the other side was the gunman. Luckily, he had his back to me. Above one of the shops on the roof terrace, there was a guy, a great Tunisian man on the roof, just throwing tiles, ceramic tiles, roof tiles off his roof to try and distract the gunman, you know.
يلا شوف فيلم ما ماتت بابا.
The gunfire was incredible. It felt like hours at the time, but no doubt it was probably only about 15 or 20 seconds.
We heard the gunfire, and then there was a knock on the door, and someone came in and said it's okay to go out.
It was the Tunisian police. As soon as we saw that uniform, Chelsea dragged me off the floor and we went to get out of the room. I didn't expect to see what I saw outside of the door. There was blood all over the floor, there were bodies, and I will never forget the looks on their faces.
My initial memory is just outside the office door there was blood on the floor, so someone had obviously been hurt or killed, and I'd left my shoes by the pool, so I had to walk through the blood without shoes on.
I saw the first body, it was a woman, and the way she was sat really confused me. At that point, I had never lost anyone in my family, never dealt with death. And I was like, why is she just sat there? This is a really serious thing. She needs to go. And then I realised I was stood in blood. was hers. And that's when I was like, okay.
We walked through the blood and we walked to the stairs, back down to the reception where we had run from. Amidst the chaos in the corridor, I met a middle-aged woman and her daughter who were supporting me as I kept chanting, "My mum is dead. I don't know where my mum is. I need to find my mum. My parents were on the beach. My parents are dead." That's all I could say was, "My parents are dead." And they kept telling me, "We're going to find them. We'll find your parents. It's going to be okay."
Dave and I went back to the hotel, Imperial Harbour. When we got there, it was horrendous. The noise was horrendous. So the noise on the beach was one thing, but then it went quiet, and then when we went back, the noise was even something else, like the sound of all the helicopters and all the commotion going on and all the vehicles.
People screaming, people crying, people looking for their loved ones. It was just absolutely chaotic, the whole situation.
I thought I'd better retrace my footsteps to see if I can find my wife. And then I could see what unfolded to be nothing more than a massacre on the beach that day. It was just a pure massacre. Most of the bodies on the beach were covered over with towels, so it was difficult for me to identify if it was my wife or not. But I knew what she was wearing, so I could see by her size and shape if it was my wife or not my wife. Luckily, none of those were her, so I still had that hope that she was going to be okay.
There was just hundreds of people coming down the stairways. And then I saw Tracy, and I wasn't in a good state because I had blood and sand on me. So I think initially she thought I'd been injured. I very quickly told her that I hadn't. It wasn't my blood. But I said, we just need to get back to the safety of our room.
As soon as I got down from behind reception to the lobby, I saw my mum. She was right there. And I don't remember this, but she hugged me, but apparently I couldn't even hug her back because I was just so in shock. And she was checking me, and I was like, "Why are you checking me?" And I was just covered in blood. And she was making sure that it wasn't mine.
I prayed so many times that day. I really did pray hard. And I got to the back of the hotel and I prayed that I'd see my wife again. And I looked through the glass doors and there I could see her with her bikini in reception. And then from being fight or flight or everything, this was just pure relation. But I just ran through the corridor, we just grabbed each other and just, cried our eyes out that, that we'd got through it,
And then we saw my mum and Dave. They came through the doors of the hotel, and I've never felt relief like it. It was like a scene out of a Hollywood movie when you're running in slow motion to somebody. And I've never hugged my stepdad as tight as I did. And then my mum, and it felt at that moment that it was over because I'd been reunited with my mum.
She said she phoned me so many times and I didn't answer. But I have to remember that everything that happened that day, or everything I did that day, or we did, was the right thing to do because we all came home.
I was at the local park with my children, just pushing them on the swing, doing normal mum and daughter things. And that was when I received the text from my dad, just to ask if I'd heard from Nan, which I replied no, why, what's going on? And he explained that there had been a terror attack in Tunisia. It was her 8th year going there. I think she liked the food, she found the locals very friendly, she loved just laying in the sun, having a sherry, maybe a dip in the pool, just spending quality time with her partner. I knew it was the day before she was due to come home, and I just assumed she was packing, doing her last bit of shopping. And then my dad messaged me again saying that it was actually the hotel my nan was staying at. That was the hotel that was attacked. So then the panic did set in a little bit, especially as she wasn't answering my phone calls, my text messages. And I think by then even he sort of had the fear that, you know, she probably wasn't hiding somewhere. And by now she would have come out and made contact. On the second night, around 2 a.m, my daughter's doll crib started rocking and playing music on its own, which was really strange. And literally a split second after that, I received a phone call from my dad. And I just knew then, like, he's ringing at 2 a.m, it's not going to be good news. So I answered the phone and he just said straight away, Nan's been killed, she's been shot, she's gone. I don't think I'll ever forget that phone call. And it was like I knew before I even answered it, I just knew.
I remember thinking I just want to get out of here. I just want to be at home. My mum kept saying I won't be able to relax until we touch English soil.
Everyone was in a panic, you know, no one knew what to do or what was going on. The hotel staff were trying to do their best, but it was just chaos.
And then shortly after, we were called and said, look, we're going to take you to the airport. You're going to get an armed escort to the airport. I'm going to put you on a plane.
I was straight up to the hotel room, grab the bags, get them down in reception, check out of the hotel so that you know once that bus arrives, you can get out straight onto it and you're away.
That was a nerve-wracking journey to get back to the airport because you didn't know how there could have been a gunman on that road waiting to ambush the buses.
And the entire coach journey, I had my hand luggage up against the window in case somebody was going to shoot at the bus.
Nobody knew what to say to one another. Everybody just sat in silence.
And I'm not going to lie, I was, scared.
Every bus had a minibus full of soldiers alongside, and there was helicopters overhead following each bus as well. But that in itself was sort of, in a way, more terrifying, to know that if they're putting that much effort into it, what are they expecting? Something more.
I remember sitting down on that plane and just thinking, we're going home. I just felt so relieved to be on the plane and knowing that we were going to be going home to safety.
I remember getting on the aircraft, finding a seat, sitting down, and I woke up when the wheels hit the runway in Manchester Airport, thinking, not really knowing where I was, and then I realised that we'd arrived, which was a relief in itself.
Just so glad to put the key in the door when we got home. And yeah, Bella, our German Shepherd, so happy to see us. I just kind of was on my hands and knees and just I made it.
They'd arranged transport for us to take us home and going past our local church. So I opened the door very quietly, went in, and unbelievably, the vicar was mentioning about that they thought there was someone in the village that had been involved in what had happened in Tunisia, and could the congregation pray for us? What can you say? You know, it's just like everything aligned for me. It highlighted something inside me that I'd never felt before, that things were going to have to change for me.
I just thought I could carry on as normal. And I just tried to get through the week, take each day as it comes, and I didn't get a lot of sleep that week anyway, due to night terrors and lying there wide awake asking myself what if questions from what had happened and what I'd seen. And then to get a few hours sleep and to have to recall it in detail to counter-terrorism police. I guess that was kind of almost the final straw that broke me emotionally and mentally. They left, and again I just tried to carry on as normal, tried to tough it out.
I wanted to go back to school immediately. It happened on the Friday, I went back to school on the Tuesday. Clearly I was still in a lot of shock. And I just remember everyone being like, Millie, are you okay? It was just normal to me. I didn't feel anything different, but clearly I was in shock to go through something that horrendous on the Friday and then on the Tuesday be back at school. And then it just all kind of hit me. I struggled to be in crowds. I was hypervigilant of everything. I had a panic attack. I've had anxiety, but never a panic attack before. My heart was racing, I couldn't breathe, my hands were pins and needly, and after that I was at the hospital every single day for about a week because I constantly thought I was dying of something. And I guess it was everything just kind of catching up to me.
I didn't feel safe until I stepped inside the house and saw my dog and felt like I was home. But that feeling of safety doesn't last. And a friend of mine sent me a message on Facebook saying, have you seen this? And she said, this is in Rome Airport. So the headline is Terrorism, the shock wave of a bloody Friday. And I remember feeling really angry that my face was on the cover of a newspaper, blood behind it, you know, recording the most traumatic incident of my life without my consent, without my knowledge that it had been taken and shared around the world.
I didn't want to be at home because it was all over the news. It was all over the news, on every programme, you know, on the radio. If it wasn't happening in Tunisia, it was happening elsewhere. And I didn't like crowded places. I didn't like, you know, trains. I started to save water, so, you know, I got a water butt, and my husband thought it was just for me to water the plants to save the planet as such, but it was because I thought if we get our water cut off, I've got a water supply. So I'd ordered things off of Amazon, like ration blood packs, and I was hiding all this as well. So I was trying to hide it in the greenhouse. So I knew that I needed to get some help because it was getting extreme how I was behaving.
I finished work on the Saturday morning. That was my last night shift for that week. And I came home, parked the car outside the house, and I broke. I just sat in the car and cried my eyes out. I was mentally done. I was broken. And that's kind of when I realised that I needed help. I wasn't going to just be able to grind it out and tough it out and everything would be back to normal. I was there. It's kind of a big moment for me then.
I do remember thinking like Nan deserved to be brought back in style, and she was. But it was really, really hard seeing her being carried off, thinking she should have been coming back from her holiday on a TUI flight and happy as Larry with a suntan, but no, she's coming back in an RAF plane in a coffin. It was just so overwhelming. But I was just almost glad she was back. I felt like she was here, even though she wasn't in person. So after she was brought back, they put all the victims in a room, their own room, and gave the families the opportunity to go and say our last goodbyes, I guess. Sort of when I got close up and had that moment with her in the room, the feelings like then changed to grief and I can't believe what's happened and is she really in there? And all the other questions that go around in your head. Then we had to have the funeral. But it was really nice hearing everyone's accounts of Nan in the church. And there were some giggles because she was a hilarious person, but obviously lots of tears as well. And then it was following on to the crematorium, which was just close family then, so it was just a few of us. And I think that was the hardest part of it all. Just because obviously once the service is done, they close the curtain. And I was just thinking, that's it, like the curtain's closing on my Nan's life and it shouldn't have been now. She loved life and she had so much more life to live. So to see that curtain closing on her, knowing that someone else has made that decision for her, that was... Not only was I absolutely broken, but I was really, really angry at that point. But yeah, I've just never felt so many different emotions in such a short amount of time.
I feel really angry that the terrorist did this selfishly, this was my holiday. This was my holiday to celebrate my 18th birthday. And he nearly took my mum from me. And that makes me really angry. I also feel really sad that he was in a position to do this, that he was misled or made to believe in some way that this was the right thing to do. You know, if he was still alive, I'd want to know why. Why did you want to do it? Why did you choose this? Why then?
There's someone to blame, you know. I'm sort of lower class English, white, you know, likes a bit of football, the usual stuff, you know, gonna be honest about it. Most people think once you've had something like this happen to you, it will just quite easily make you typecast just about everybody. So I've really tried hard not to blink at myself, and that led me to the path of seeing, going to the Woking Mosque and meeting, you know, a great guy, the Imam. So he said, you know, what can I do for you? So sat down, had a cup of tea. I'd explained what had happened to me, and I just had questions for me to understand and learn more why someone would do this, getting an automatic weapon and trying to take people's lives. So what religion, as far as I was concerned, would find that acceptable? And he's very open and honest, and we had great lengthy discussions about, you know, religious beliefs, Islam, extremism, whether it's far right or Islamic or any type of terrorism. And I feel now I'm getting, benefit is the wrong word, but I can understand more about the world and everything around me now because of his conversation.
The attack really gave me some perspective. So it was about 1.5 years later that a charity called Strength to Strength flew me out to New York, and it's Survivors Against Terrorism. So whether that be someone that was injured, a child of a first responder, someone that had lost someone that had been in a terrorist attack, pretty much covered all the bases. And I got there, and it was so surreal. We could just sit down and talk about it like it was nothing, because it was also normal to us. Like, we could have a conversation without crying, and that's what made me want to move to New York. So I did it. It wasn't a big decision for me at all. It was what I needed to do. I wasn't anxious about it, because I've been through worse. I knew it was what was best for me.
In 2019 was the first time I plucked up courage to go on another holiday. We just stayed in, you know, a small, cosy, hotel, and I found out I had breast cancer. And I said, this is the first time for a few years that I've managed to book a holiday and fly. So just make sure my surgery's not that day, because I really wanted to go. So yeah, I was proud. I was proud that I was able to do that. But yeah, cancer and cancer's treatment has kind of shifted my focus from being scared of terrorists to, you know, what I need to deal with today. In a way, Tunisia and being hyper alert could have helped me, because I'm not just alert to noises and things that are going on outside, I'm alert to what goes on in my body as well. I'd very much like to stay alive for as long as I can, hopefully to see grandchildren.
I don't see myself as a hero. I went back because I felt it was the right thing to do. Cheryl was the real hero in this. You know, she saw her husband shot and she survived and pulled through and returned to work. And I do have her permission to read this very private letter. Dear Alan, I'm writing to thank you for all the help you gave me on the beach on that horrific day. You cannot imagine how relieved I was to hear a friendly English voice amongst all the chaos. You put your own life at risk to come and help me and my husband, even though there were still shots being fired. You broke the news to me as gently as you could that Stephen was dead, even though I knew in my heart that was the case. You said your wife was back at your hotel and she must have been going frantic for your safety. Again, what a brave thing you did. A lot of time has passed. There's a lot of water under the bridge now. I hope people will remember and understand and respect, you know, the survivors on that horrible day.
We got married September 2018. It's about 3 years after the attack. It was a beautiful day. We got married in a manor house. We had all of our family there and friends. We've had 2 children since, so we've got a little boy and a little girl. But every year that my birthday comes around, I know that it was that awful day and what happened. So the thought is always there.
It's quite a strange thing when you look back. That was a really small part of your life and it's shaped who I am today. And the reason I have the resilience and I guess that attitude of, yeah, whatever it is, I can face it and I'll go with it. When I look back, it goes right back to then. I was probably too hard on myself. I expected too much of myself and I didn't help enough that day. That was something I punished myself for. And that ultimately led me to the career choice I made, which was to join the fire service. Once I got through the really tough period, that first year, and felt like mentally I was in a good place to make a decision to do something like that. Start that journey of being in to help people more.
So there are some very positive things going on in my life at the moment. I am currently 31 weeks pregnant, which is amazing. I have a husband and a house and a beautiful dog and a cat. I think there'll be a fear when it comes to when he's older. I want to wrap him in bubble wrap and I can't, just because of what I've been through and I know how bad the world can be. But I need to be able to do what my mum did. She let me go out, move countries, live my life, and she was probably petrified. So I think I need to prepare myself for that and make sure that I don't over coddle him.
I always take the 26th of June off work because I know I'm never going to be in a brilliant space to work it. I always book that as a day's holiday. You think back to what happened on that day, and mainly for the people who didn't come home that day and the families who didn't survive. I'm just really glad that I was able to help someone that day in a real tough experience. If me being there helped her, I'm just really grateful that I could be there to do that.
I wanted to reclaim some of my identity, but I didn't also want to be the same person that I was in the attack. So I started to get tattoos, I started to get piercings, I started to be the person I wanted to be, to use the experience to be me. When I got my offer for university, my mum and I were bawling our eyes out of joy that I'd got into university. And it was that moment I thought that, okay, I'm going to make the most of this because I shouldn't have been here, but I am.
You don't know by looking at somebody what they went through yesterday, last night, last year, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. Anyone that goes through anything like this, it takes time.